What's going on, guys? So in front of me, you are looking at two absolutely gorgeous trucks. On the left, we have the 2020 GMC Denali 3500 four-wheel drive crew cab Duramax truck. On the right, we have the Ford F350. This is an XLT package truck, so there are a few features that the Denali is going to have that the Ford truck does not. I want to give a big shout out to my friends over at AutoNation Ford here in Corpus Christi, Texas, for allowing me to borrow this F350 dually for this evaluation video. What we're going to do today is answer the question that so many prospective buyers want to know. They want to know dimensionally what's the difference. They want to understand the turning radius. They want to know which truck sits higher off the ground. They want to know what truck is going to be best suited for their application, and we're going to try to answer those questions in this video today. So hang tight, this is going to be a fun video. So I have my good friend Brian and my assistant out here with me today. How we doing?
Doing very good.
You got to drive that Duramax.
Oh yeah.
What do you think?
It's a beast. I love it. Feels like a toy, but also very powerful.
Big smile on your face when you got out of it.
I'm kind of giddy.
Yeah, and you driven my 450.
Oh yeah.
So, I mean, comparison. Be honest. If you like the Denali better, just say you like it better.
I like the Denali.
The Denali.
Oh yeah.
All right.
You gotta say like that with a southern twang.
Yeah.
Denali.
All right, guys. So first thing we want to do is take a couple measurements. The first one I want to take is how high is the top of the hood to the ground on the GMC versus the Ford, because that's going to speak to your visibility over the front. So Brian, you got the tape measure. Let's go ahead and measure from this point right here. So let's come out to right about here and measure straight down to the ground. What are we at?
54.
About 54 and a half. Okay, 54 and a half on the Denali. Now I know these aren't scientific measurements, but they are practical measurements. And then the slope of the hood right about here.
52 and a half.
About 52 and a half. Okay, so we're looking about 2 inches taller from a nose perspective, a hood perspective, from the GM versus the Ford. Okay, the next one I want to do is a measurement from this front part of the windshield right in the center to the tip of the hood. So if you want to walk over there with that, we'll measure right here. Where are we at over there?
50.
50. Okay, let's look at the Ford. And this just speaks to, again, overhood clearance.
49.
49. Okay, so you're an inch shorter on the Ford and you are 2 inches shorter in the GMC. All right, now let's go ahead and move to the back of the truck, because this is going to be the big one in determining how these trucks haul fifth wheels and goosenecks. All right, so for 2020, Ford reduced the height of their truck by about 2 inches, roughly. It's more like 1.75 inches in the front and the back, which is supposed to help whenever you're hauling a fifth wheel and give you that extra bed height clearance that you need. But what we're gonna do now is we're gonna measure from the back corner right here down to the ground on each truck, just to see which one sits lower and which one sits higher. So let's go ahead and take the measurement from the Denali. We're gonna measure from the ground to the edge of the top of the plastic here. We are 57 3/4 inches. Don't know if you can see that. Now, we're going to do the same measurement right here on the Ford. We are 57 1/4 inches. So you're a 1/2 inch shorter. So that's not much, actually. I thought that the GMC was actually going to be significantly higher, but the Ford Super Duty is slightly lower. It's about 1/2 inch lower in the bed versus the GMC. Now, that is a pretty cool thing, because if you had gotten the previous version of this, which is the 2019 model, it would have sat about 2 inches higher, because that's a big deal. To get that proper overhang clearance that you need for a fifth wheel, you can't have the bed sitting too high, and that's one of the reasons why I don't put a lift kit or I don't do any kind of crazy suspension enhancement to my truck, is because I don't want to risk raising the back high enough to where I can't haul a fifth wheel appropriately. Anyways, guys, the next measurement we're going to take is going to be from the window seal down to the ground, because this is going to be your overside visibility. I can already tell right off the bat that the General Motors truck, the GMC truck, overall is slightly lower, but you can see on the Ford where it pitches down right here. I think it's going to be in favor of the GMC on this measurement. And we're going to go right to the top where the window starts. We are right at 55 3/4 inches. Now, from the back here, I think we're going to be quite a bit taller than that.
Oh yeah.
Oh wow, 57 and 1/4. This one's 57 1/4, and this one's 55 3/4. Now let's take the measurement up here where it's noticeably shorter. We'll do the measurement again on the GMC here as well. All right, what are we at? 52 3/4. So we're 52 3/4 inches. Let's take a measurement right here. And we are 55 inches dead on. In my opinion, I think GM has it on this side because overall you get more visibility out of the side than you do on the Ford. And it's really noticeable from this angle. You see just how much taller that profile is right there, even though it does drop down a little bit lower. Towing mirrors are pretty much identical. There's not a lot of difference between them. You can see how this one is a little bit larger at the bottom on the Super Duty, but overall the mirrors are very, very similar. I don't think there's any advantage to one over the other. Visibility wise, it does look as if the Ford mirror has more of a convex to it, more of a curve to it, versus the GM mirror. The GMC mirror is more of a flat mirror, so you do get a wider angle view with the Ford mirror over the GMC mirror. And these seagulls right now are voting for what their favorite truck is. They're yelling at us. Let's take a quick look at the rear suspension. So on the GMC truck, as mentioned in another video, 4 leaf springs with 3 small overload leaves. Again, this is kind of that perfect progressive leaf spring setup on a truck. Your 4 main leaf springs are going to handle your daily driving and the brunt of the load, but the minute you put something incredibly heavy on, like a fifth wheel or a gooseneck, that's where those 3 overload springs are going to come into play, and they're going to give you the vast majority of your payload capacity when loaded. On the Ford, they have 4 really large leaf springs and 1 real thin overload. And you can see the actual bracket for the overload spring is about 3 inches above the overload leaf versus the GMC, that's only about 1 inch. So the overload leafs on the GMC are going to come into play much sooner than they would on the Ford, which in my opinion means that this is a more progressive setup. For normal driving, you're really never going to make contact with your overloads. However, when you start loading any weight in the back, when you want them to come into play, they will. So that is really cool. Okay, now looking at the back of these trucks, the Ford has a 3-inch receiver on it with a 2.5-inch reducer. On the GMC, it's got a 2.5-inch receiver. Now, that really doesn't mean a lot these days because these trucks are both pretty much capable of towing conventionally around 21,000 pounds. I think the GMC is at 20,000 pounds, and I think the Ford's a little over 21,000 pounds. So when it comes to really needing to have a 3-inch receiver over a 2.5-inch receiver, not a lot of need at this point, to be honest. Okay, so the next measurement we're going to take is the tailgate height off of the ground. We're not going to drop the multi-purpose tailgate on the GMC, but Brian, if you could, let's take a tailgate measurement up to the top edge of the tailgate right here from the ground. The GMC is 38.25 inches. Now we're going to walk over here to the Ford. The Ford is 36.5 inches. I did not expect that. So yeah, the Ford is a bit lower than the GMC in terms of tailgate height off of the ground. You know, if you get this truck with the step, and of course that one with the multi-pro step, it's not really going to make much of a difference. But without a step, the Ford does sit a little bit lower than the GMC. So Brian recommended we do an exhaust sound startup on the 2 trucks because if you look at the exhaust on both trucks, this has 1 massive exhaust pipe on the GMC, whereas the Ford uses 2 slightly smaller exhaust pipes. I'm going to walk right up to this one. Go ahead and start it. It's actually very quiet. Yeah, you really can't hear it. So this is going to be the most boring exhaust note sound we've ever heard. But let's move over to the GMC and see how it sounds. Now we're at the back of the Duramax. Let's give this one a start. Yeah, not a lot going on here either. If you want these things to sound great, you're gonna have to put an aftermarket exhaust on because they are whisper quiet from the back. Okay, so the next measurement we're gonna take is 2 step-up heights. The first one is to the step side, and then the next one is to the interior. So you wanna walk over here with that. Step-up height to the step side is 14.5 inches. To the interior, 25.5. So 14.5, 25.5 for the Denali. Now we're at the Ford. We are 15.5, almost 16, and we are 27 to the interior. Ford is significantly higher step up to the step side and the interior of the truck than the GMC. Of course, with the step sides, it really doesn't matter that much, but just so you guys know, if you get the standard step size and you don't have a truck that has a retractable step side, it is going to be a little bit taller in the Ford versus the GMC. Now, one measurement I'm going to take from the interior is going to be the rear seat legroom, because it's all new for the new GMC truck and it's a carryover from Ford. So I'm going to get in, I'm going to adjust the front seat to my normal seated position in both trucks, and then we'll measure the rear seat legroom. Okay, so I am in my normal seated position. I just drove this truck, so it's probably already set for it. Now we're going to check the rear seat legroom. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to measure from the back of the seat to the front of the cushion right here. That's one measurement. On the Ford, we are right at 15 inches right here. Now we're going to measure from that same area to the very back of the seat, because a different length of seat cushion can also determine some of the spacing in the back. So to the back of the seat itself, we're right, let's just call this one 33.5. So we're at 33.5 inches. Let's take a look at the GMC. So I am sitting in the GMC, just making a quick adjustment to the seating. Okay, let's check the measurement. Okay, so now we're going to measure the GMC. In the back, we are 14 inches, and then all the way to the back, we are 33.5. We are also 33.5. So interior measurement, let's just say it's pretty much the same. Okay, so we came back to the Ford. We're actually at 15 inches. So the GM is an inch shorter from the front of the cushion to the back of the seat, but that might only be because the seat itself has a longer bottom cushion to it, because we measured, and from the back of the seat here to the back of this seat, they're the same, 33.5. So the GM obviously has a seat that's slightly longer, and some people may appreciate that simply because it'll provide more under-seat support for them. But they're pretty dang close. Guys, I want to give a big shout out to the folks over here at AutoNation Ford in Corpus Christi, Texas. They definitely have a great selection of Ford Super Duties, Ford trucks, both outgoing 2019 models as well as 2020 models. They definitely are a great place to buy from. Wanted to give them a big thank you for letting me take that F350 out so I could do my evaluation today. Guys, if you haven't had a chance, please take a moment, subscribe to my channel, give me a thumbs up. We'll talk to you again real soon.